Hey guys, welcome back to my channel, Shut Up and Read. Today I'll be doing my book Junkies TBR. So anyways, let's just get right into it. So before I begin, you might be wondering if I'll be doing my bi-monthly TBR, and the answer to that is no, because I realized that there are two readathons that's happening in July and August that are both month-long readathons. So instead of doing a separate TBR for myself and then joining on for those readathons which have their own prompts or reading challenges, and then there are certain books that I'll pick for each prompt, I decided to just pull myself back a little bit and just focus on the readathons instead of doing my own as well as readathons, because I tend to do that and I end up having too much on my plate end of the day. So I decided that this time around I'm going to be smart about it and just do the book Junkies trials for July, as well as the magical readathon, I think it's for Newts, for August. Because that was the one thing that I was having a lot of issue with. I realized that there were so many books that I had picked for readathons or for my own TBRs, and because of time and just because I tend to overload myself with a bunch of expectations for myself, I end up not finishing them all. So this time around I decided to be smart about it, and hopefully by just focusing on these two readathons I can actually do well in them and not do terrible, because that's what I did for the magical readathon. I want to say it was back in April or something when I said I wanted to do it, and I ended up not even really participating because I was just so bombarded with my own TBRs, my own like reading challenges, my own reading obligations, all that stuff. So this time around I'm not going to do a separate July-August TBR, but I will be doing the book Junkies for July, and then I'll be doing the magical readathon Newts for August. So be on the lookout for my magical readathon TBR when that comes around. So anyways, back to the book Junkie information. I will include down below the link to the Google Drive that has all of the information, as well as the announcement video telling you how to participate, etc. But here is some basic general information. The first one is that it runs throughout the entire month of July. There are 4 teams, I think. There's like Scribe, Bard, Mage, and I forget the last one. I forget, but there are 4 different teams there, and you decide to pick on which team you want to be in, etc. And from each team there are a certain set of rules and path to follow. So from what I am aware of, there are 3 important rules to this whole challenge. The first one is that it's 1 book per challenge, so there's no doubling, there's no tripling up. The second rule is that there's no book swaps from the declared TBR. And the third rule is that you should only read the books in order of the journey. So that seems to be the hardest thing for a lot of people, because a lot of people tend to be mood readers, and for this challenge you have to read per each destination and you have to follow each book that you pick for each destination. And another interesting part is that based on each team that you're on, there are different abilities and weaknesses. So for this time around I decided to join the team Scribe because I really like the ability as well as the weaknesses. The ability is that we have the ability to rewrite our tale. So that means our unique ability is to read a book that wasn't on our declared TBR, which means that this is very good for mood readers, people who want to just deviate if they decide they don't want to pick it up, etc. But then our weakness is that as Scribe spend so much time documenting their findings, one of the challenges would take much longer than normal. So our challenge and our weakness is to read a book over 500 pages. So this is the only challenge that can be doubled up because it's not part of the actual destination challenges, if that makes any sense. But anyways, moving on to the actual challenges and each book that I'm picking for each challenge. Again, all of the information will be down below in the Google Doc as well as the announcement video. So the first location for a Scribe is the Dwarf Mount, and that one is you spot a fair tavern wrench. However, the dwarf mines, grimy and dusty, didn't evoke a very romantic feeling. Read a book with a hint of romance to get you in the mood. For this challenge, I decided to go with A Winter's Promise by Christelle Dabos. Really hoping I pronounced her name correctly. I was really hoping that this book would be 500 plus pages, but this is like only 450, but it looks like a chunker. But anyways, this one I believe has a hint of romance because so there is an arranged marriage in this book, and from what I have heard, the arranged marriage, I think the guy starts to kind of like the girl, but that's not towards the really end of the book. So there's a hint of a romance there, which I feel like would be perfect for this challenge. And all I know about this book, to be honest, other than that, is the fact that it's something to do with these spires. Something happened about the world, and I guess all these people, civilizations, basically created these citadels, these spires, these kind of buildings, I'm not really sure, these things. And so what happens that each one is very different from each other, and there's magic. Some of them are very dark magic, and there's just different types of worlds. It's basically like each citadel or spire is a different world essentially, and the main girl, she has some unique abilities. I believe she has the ability to read an object or something, and the ability to travel through mirrors. And then once she got her arranged marriage, she ends up moving to her future husband's spire citadel building, whatever, and so things kind of happen from there. I'm not really sure, but it seems to be really good, and a lot of people who have read it seem to really enjoy it. So I've heard there's a hint of romance, so this will be perfect. So I will have to read this one first, essentially, because this is my first destination. So once I am done with the dwarf mounds, I'm just reading all these prompts on my phone, to be honest, because they're very long. My next location is the Apothecary Towers, and that one says, where the wizards dwell, tricksters. They have blindfolded you and randomized all your books. Choose a book at random from your bookshelf. So for this challenge, I decided to do things a little bit differently because I only have these bookshelves behind me, and I was just like, there's so many other books that I have, to be honest, I want to read. So what I decided to do was I decided to pick up books that have been on this certain pile, because I have a certain pile that I put out when I want to pick them up for a readathon, or I put them up for my TBR. So those are my like next to be read books, essentially. And that pile has grown in the past few months because I realized that I'm not very good at reading all of them. So I have a lot of books that are left over from readathons, my own TBRs, etc. So these are the books basically, or some of them at least, where I've been trying to pick up for the past few months and haven't been able to do so yet. So I picked 10 that I really want to pick up. So these are the 10 here, and I'm going to basically randomize it on my phone, and I'll just put the titles in, and hopefully I would choose one of them. I mean, I will choose one of them because based on my phone, whatever one. And this is actually a really important one, to be honest, because I have picked my other prompts based on whatever I pick for this one. So depending on what book pops up on my phone for the randomizer, that will basically determine my entire rest of my TBR. So anyways, these are the books. I'm going to put them on my phone, and I will be back in a hot second. Okay, so I just put all the names on my phone right now, and I'm just using a random website to just basically do a random name picker. And these are the 10 books for those who didn't see it earlier or it's not clear. The first one is Night Circus, then To Best the Boys, Red Sister, The Merciful Crow, You Must Not Miss, The Art of Breaking Things, Devouring Grey, Court of Thorn and Roses, Bone Charmer, and Grave Mercy. So there are 10 books. I'm hoping one of them, I'm going to read one of them, and that will determine the rest of my TBR, to be honest. So I'm just going to press the button now and just, yeah, anyways. So I will be reading Devouring Grey, guys. Oh my god, I will screenshot this and let you guys see what happened. Okay, so I'll be picking up the Devouring Grey for the second prompt, which was the Apothecary Towers. And this one, as far as I'm aware, is that people say it's a blend of the Raven Boys and Stranger Things. And Stranger Things, because I heard it's supposed to be like atmospheric like Stranger Things, and the Raven Boys, maybe because of like the friendships, I'm not really sure, to be honest, but yeah, we'll see. But a lot of people seem to really enjoy this book, so I do have some high expectations, and hopefully I will love it as much as everyone else does. But that's all I really know about this book. So this will be the second book that I will be reading this month, essentially. So then once I am done with the Apothecary Towers, my next stop is the Great Library. This one says, the Great Archives. Find and read a book that has been on your TBR forever. So for this one, I'm actually going to pick up this book over here, Birthrights, because these books are the ones that have been backlisted since like 2017, to be honest. So these books have been on my shelves for the longest time. And this one, I'm also going to do the 500 plus pages, because this one I believe is just over 500, like 530 pages. So this will definitely fit. There's also dragons in here, and that's kind of all I know about this book, to be honest. I actually picked this up during BookCon 2 years ago, and I just never ever picked it up. But I do know there is dragons involved in here somehow. It's an epic fantasy, and that's kind of great actually, because I do really enjoy books like that. I don't know why I haven't picked this up, to be honest, but here I am, guys, finally, like 2 years later, hoping to pick this up as soon as possible. Also, for those who don't know, there's actually, like, this is an eye, right? But there's actually a hand in the pupil here. I don't know if you guys can tell, but isn't that kind of cool? Anyway, so this will be the third book that I will be reading during the book Junkie Trials. So now that I'm done with my third challenge, the Great Library, I'm moving on to my fourth destination, that is the Drowning Deep. The prompt here is the whirlpool. It's so mesmerizing. Read a book with rich world building that will suck you into its own world instead. So for this prompt, I'm going to pick up Red Sister by Mark Lawrence. This has been on my TBR for the longest time. I've heard so many good things about it, and I'm so excited to finally pick it up. And all I know about this book is that there are 3 books in the trilogy, and that it's basically about nuns who are trained to be killers. And it follows a girl who came into the convent at a very young age, but she was 8 years old when she was brought in, and she was already accused of murder but guilty of worse things apparently, and she's already made powerful enemies, and her violent past will one day find her out. So it sounds really good. I've heard so many good things about it, and these are some epic fantasies, guys. I have picked up some epic fantasies during this month, and that may be an issue because I love fantasy, but I cannot read just fantasy. Did I pick anything else? I feel like everything I picked so far is fantasy. Even Devouring Grey has like fantasy aspect to it. But anyways, this will be the 4th book that I'll be reading for this book, Junkie Trials. So finally, moving on to my final destination, and this is the destination that everyone will end up with, and that is the Bookie Grail. Here you find a lost manuscript delivered on this forgotten island by a fallen star. Read the group book, Stardust. So Stardust is by Neil Gaiman, and honestly, I don't know anything about this book, but this book came out a long time ago, 1998, and it seems to be a very short book though, so hopefully there's that. Like 250 pages, and that's not too bad, but I don't know anything about this book. I'm hoping to probably get on audiobook, to be honest, so I can just bust that out, but I really don't know anything about this book, to be honest. But this is the group book that everyone has to read, and so because of the way how this readathon is set up, everyone has to read all of these books in order. So at the end of the day, everyone has to read the group book, so at least that's good. But yeah, I'm going to try to read this one, and I don't really know what to expect, to be honest. I've never even heard of this book. I don't really read that many Neil Gaiman books before. I don't think I ever liked any of the books, but anyway, so this is the last book on my official TBR. So basically, I'll be reading these 4 books in order. So number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and then finally Stardust by Neil Gaiman. And that's on my official TBR, the ones that I have to get through if I want to participate in any sort of way. And hopefully I will, to be honest. I'm really hoping I get through all 5 of these, to be honest. But of course, knowing me, I was like, I want to actually participate in the challenge. So I think that one is the one where you have to read all the books and all the TBRs. So I'm going to go through those lists very quickly. So I think if you try to accomplish all 17 prompts, then you become the quest champion. And that's kind of what I'm aiming for right now, because I am trying to be ambitious. I feel like now that I am kind of less busy for July and August, like my personal life, I'm hoping that I will read a lot more and actually get through a bunch of these books more. So anyway, so now that I'm done with my original 5 destinations, I can kind of explore the rest of the world at my own discretion. I can go through anywhere, wherever I want to, however I want to, but these are the books I'm hoping to pick up after I finish my first 5. So the next one will be Crimson Peaks. These peaks are about to blow. Reread a favorite to soothe them into dormancy. So for this one, I feel like I've talked about this book a lot recently, and I'm going to pick up Red Wall by Brandon Jacks. This is the first one if I want to read it not chronologically, but in order of publication date. I'll try to pick up this one and we'll see. I feel like this will be a really fast read because this will be a reread. I haven't read this one since I want to say middle school, to be honest, but I enjoyed this a lot back in the day, and I've been trying to get back into it because I just feel like when I stopped reading these books, I missed out on a lot of the other world that he created. He continued with the series, and I just never followed up with it, even though I only read like 10 or something of them, and there is, I want to say, like 25 plus books in the series, so I missed out on a lot of the adventure, and so I want to go back into it. So anyways, this will be the next book that I'll be picking up after I am done with my original 5 challenges. Oh, and by the way, so this book is a fantasy book. It's an epic fantasy. It follows these woodland creatures who go on these sort of adventures that try to basically go against these bad woodland creatures. I want to say like badgers are involved, mice, the bad ones are like otters, stuff like that, and it's kind of interesting how they're good and bad based on the breed that they are, like the species, and it's really interesting, and I really liked it back in the day. So I'm hoping to read it with a fresh eyes now that I am older, and hopefully I will be able to still enjoy it as much as I did when I was like 10. So anyways, okay, so the next challenge is Queendom Stone, the stone of our royal majesty. What are the royal customs of other lands? Read a book featuring royalty. So for this one, I am going to pick up The Merciful Crow by Margaret Owen. I have had this book for the longest time, and I have, for whatever reason, I just haven't had the chance to pick it up yet, but I know that Madison recently read it and she has been raving about this nonstop. Like, she literally just talked about it yesterday. So I was like, I'm going to have to pick this up as soon as possible. And I know that there is a riddle here because it says here Crown Prince Jasimir, and apparently he had to fake his death. So, I mean, he's a crown prince, he's royalty, he definitely fits in this category, so I'm going to read it. Other than that, I really don't know what this book is about, but it's about some sort of future chieftain, a fugitive prince, and a 2 cunning bodyguards. So I'm assuming this book follows 3 perspectives, and it's just really good apparently. I mean, I have heard so many good things. Okay, well, so many good things is stretching it because I've really just heard from one person, but she has been raving about this a lot, so I feel like that kind of counts. So anyways, I'll be picking up this one next, and hopefully I will enjoy it as much as she does. So the next destination is the Forgotten Forest. All those open series, the forest knows and feels your forgetfulness. It will sing a mournful, tormenting lament until you read the next in a series. So for this one, I'll be picking up Kingsbane by Claire Legrand. This is actually really good because I literally just finished Fairyburn maybe a few weeks ago, and I haven't gotten the chance to pick up the sequel yet because I started to realize I had some other books I need to finish before I can pick up this one. So I'm glad that I'm going to hold this off until fulfill the book JUNKIE Trials, which case I can definitely read this to fulfill that challenge, and I'm really excited because I really enjoy Fairyborn. Like, I read it for the first time ever and I was like, wow, I can see why some people really enjoy this book, and it's so good. There's just so many elements to the book that I really enjoyed, but I'll talk more about that in my wrap-up video at the end of the month. So the first book is about these two queens who are separated by 1,000 years, and somehow they're connected by all these different elements, these plots, and somehow they need to survive because there's a whole legend about a sun queen versus a blood queen, and one is destined to save the world and the other one is destined to destroy the world. And there's just so many elements to it. There's also angels involved and magic, and it was really good. It's very intricate and it's done so well, so I have really high hopes for this one. Okay, then my next destination is the Whippin Falls. To pass through the rapids unscathed, you must give to the falls. Read a tearjerker. So this is the only one where I was really struggling to find a tearjerker novel because I feel like I just finished reading The Nightingale and that was definitely for sure an emotional book for me. And while I didn't really cry, I like did tear up a little bit. But for me to tear up for books is really hard. Like, it's really hard to find a book that will actually cheer me up a little bit. So I decided to go with This Monstrous Thing by Mackenzie Lee. I'm going to try to pick up as an audiobook or an ebook sometime this month. So the reason why I want to pick up this book is because it's about a boy who has lost everything and is completely devastated to the point that he tries to bring his brother back up from the dead. But of course, like, things don't go as planned and his brother comes back more as a monster than a man. And so the guy is now trying to escape his present and he's very guilt-ridden as well. And the fact that his brother seems to be the one paying the price. So it does seem like it's a very sad book in some ways. Like, there's just elements to it that I feel like would be sad, very tragic, devastating, that kind of stuff. So hopefully it's a tearjerker, but this is the only one I can find really that was like, I feel like it will probably fit. It's just a question of whether or not it's a tearjerker for me. But regardless, I feel like it will probably be based on the synopsis. It seems like it's a very sad book. So anyways, that's a book that I'll be picking for this particular destination. Then my next destination is the Orc Grove. Some say there's no talking to orcs, but a good political relationship is needed. Learn some orc customs by reading a book that is gruesome, gory, or gritty. So for this one, I'm going to pick up Across the Void by S.K. Vaughn. I do have the book, but I left it at work, so I don't have it to show on hand with me right now. So this is a sci-fi thriller, and it follows a woman who wakes up one day in a spaceship from an induced coma, and she wakes up to find that the rest of her crew has been massacred. So that's why I'm picking up this book, because of the word massacred. So I feel like massacre usually implies something gory, and I feel like that definitely signifies that. So I feel like this definitely fits the challenge. So anyways, after she finds out that her crew has been massacred, she's trying to find her way back home to Earth. Except for the thing is that everyone on Earth thinks that she's dead, and so she's trying to make contact with them, and somehow she finally makes contact with someone who's trying to help her bring the spaceship back home so she can, you know, go back home safely. And then she also finds out that there might be someone or something on the spaceship with her, and it sounds like it'll be really interesting, really gripping, really intense, and it sounds really good. I feel like everyone that I've talked about this book with, the first thing they say is this will be a great movie, and I'm like, you know what, actually I think the rights for it has been bought, so it will become a movie. So that'd be really cool if it does, because I feel like this would be a perfect movie plot. But anyways, that's the book that I'll be picking up for this challenge. Then the next destination after that is Old Pirate Cove. Shiver me timbers, you shall be walking the plank if you don't learn how to sail better. Read a book that takes place, or at least in part, on sea. So this one I feel like is kind of a stretch, to be honest, but I'm going to just pretend it works, and that is The Stormcrow by Kaylin Josephson. I'm picking up this one because it's supposed to be located on a tropical kingdom, and I feel like there'll definitely be some scenes that will be on sea at some point because it's a tropical kingdom. It's basically an island, I feel like, so I feel like it definitely has some sort of sea aspects to it, so I feel like this will fit. So all I know about this book is that it's about a tropical kingdom and magical crows are its everything. But then one day this empire attacks them and destroys everything. So now the two princesses from this tropical kingdom is trying to figure out how to get their crows back and basically save their kingdom. So it sounds really good. It's also about crows again. I feel like this month is going to be a really fantasy heavy month because now that I'm looking at all the books I picked up, they're literally all fantasy. So good luck to me, guys. So the next destination after that one is Glimmer. This isle is alight with gems and crystals, one of the most picturesque spots in the High Queendom. Make sure you fit in with a beautiful or colorful book. This one, I decided to pick up Grave Mercy by Robin Lefevre. This cover is so stunning. I mean, I love this cover. This book looks so pretty, and I feel like this definitely fits. It's not colorful per se, but it's definitely beautiful, so that definitely fits this challenge. I've also been trying to read this series for the longest time, so hopefully I will be able to finish the series sometime this month. All I know is that this book is set in 15th century Brittany, and it follows a girl called Ismay who has basically been raised in a convent, I want to say. Yeah, convent of Saint Mortain, and she learns that she has been sired by the god of death himself and will be trained in his art. So there's like assassins in here, It's set in the courts of Brittany and it sounds really good. I feel like this is other book where about like assassinations and nuns, and I am so down for that. I feel like I am loving that trope right now, so this will definitely fit this challenge and I'm very excited for this one. Then the next destination is Draconic Isle. Oh my, this island is swarming with wyverns and dragons. Brush up your draconic knowledge with a book that features dragons. So for this challenge, I'm going to pick up Stormrise by Julian Beaumay. Hoping I pronounced the last one correctly. All I know is that this book has dragons in it. And I want to say that someone told me that something to do with the girl being able to communicate with dragons. So I'm very excited for that. So anyways, this book is about a girl called Rain whose greatest aspiration right now is become a combat master, except for the fact that in her country or in this time period, they only have two possible things for a woman, and that is to be a wife or a spinster. And there's also some sort of war going on, and she realized that this is a chance for her to prove herself, but she didn't plan on there being dragons, and I'm so excited for this. This book sounds so good and I'm very excited for it. This book is once again another fantasy, so I'm very excited for this one. Then the next destination is the Elven Guard. They're surprised by your visit and are immediately on the offensive. Read a book of war, military, or political themes to learn how to calm the situation. So for this one, I'm going to pick up Bloodleaf by Crystal Smith. This one definitely has some sort of political theme to it because it's about a girl. She's a princess and she ends up running away due to some assassination attempts. And she ends up falling in love with someone who definitely cannot rule beside her. So I'm really intrigued by this book. There's definitely some sort of political court intrigue to it and I'm very excited for it. Plus this cover is actually really gorgeous. Again guys, another fantasy novel, so I'm very excited for this one. I think I might screw myself over because I just didn't realize all the fantasy books that I picked up, but you know what? I'm fine with that. I cannot complain. I love fantasy. So anyways, this is the next book on my list. Then the next prompt is On the Hollow Isle, lurk incorporeal monsters and the ghosts of your past. Read an atmospheric or horror book to pass this test of nerve. So this one I'm going to pick up a non-fantasy book. I'm going to pick up a horror book, and that is The Echo Room by Parker Peavyhouse. This one, as far as I'm aware, is about, I want to say a guy and a girl, but basically two strangers who wake up in this room and they're locked in this room and they're trying to get out, but then suddenly they realize that they might not have been locked in, but might have locked something out. And it sounds really creepy, it sounds really good, and this book has literally been on that TBR stack of books that I've been trying to read for literally, I want to say the fall. So it's been quite some time that's been there. So anyways, very excited for this one. So the next location is the Empty Barrel Inn. Everyone deserves a swig or two. Some say even aids warming up those vocal cords. Enjoy an indulgent read. For this one, I'm going to go with A Court of Thorn and Roses by Sarah J Maas. This one, I feel like this was on my prompt originally. I want to pick up, I don't forget when, to be honest, when I was like, this is supposed to be like a trashy book because it's supposed to be an indulgent read. It's definitely a read that you just, it's a pleasure read for sure. So I feel like this would definitely fit in this prompt. And all I know is that there is some sort of fairies involved, I want to say. Apparently there's a guy called Reese. Apparently everyone loves Reese, and that's all I'm kind of really excited for because I want to see why everyone loves him so much. But anyways, I really enjoy the Throne of Glass series, so I have really high hopes for this one. And yeah, definitely cannot wait to read this. This book has also been on my TBR for God knows how long, to be honest. Then the last and final prompt for the book Junkie Trials is The Giant Squid, a fearsome fellow. Read a book that intimidates you, and this foe shall be a dawdle. So for this one, I'm going to pick up a book that will might screw me over, to be honest, and that is Clash of Kings by George R.R. Martin. This has been on my TBR since, I want to say, March, and it is now end of June. This has been on my TBR since then because I've been trying to read it for the catch-up book club. Clearly have not done so. I basically missed out on number 2, 3, and 4 at this point. I feel like that would be the next one, and I don't know what I've been doing, guys. Clearly not reading the series. So the first one I really enjoyed. I liked it a lot. And I think the reason why I'm just so intimidated by it is because 1, it's very dense, and 2, it is a chunker. This book is so big. It is 700 plus pages, and it's just a really big book, guys. But I really liked it. I liked the series, even though the ending was not the greatest. But the series itself, the journey to get there was really great. It's just the ending itself was... Anyway, that's all I'm going to say about the series, but I am excited for it. I'm also kind of worried about it because I am reading so many big, chunky fantasy books this month, and I don't know what I'm going to do, guys. I might have just really screwed myself over. Whatever. It's all fun, guys. But wait, guys, this is not over because there's still 2 more books I want to pick up that are not actually part of the book Junkie Trials. I still have to read them for my book club and my buddy read. So I figured I might as well just share them with you guys as well because this is technically like my July TBR, but mostly focus on the book Junkie because that's really what I'm going to focus on. But the first book that I'll be reading that is not related to the book Junkie Trials at all is Mistborn by Brandon Sanderson. This is actually a buddy read with Madison and Katie, so I'm very excited for it. This was supposed to be read during June, to be honest, and it is now end of June, and none of us have started it, so... at least we're on board here, guys. We're on the same page here. But I'm really excited for it. I know Kay just got her copy recently, and I'm so excited for this book, to be honest, because I feel like everyone loves this book, like the whole series. And I read another Brandon Sanderson book recently and I loved it so much, so I'm really excited to dive back into his writing and the world that he's created and all that stuff, and just cannot wait to see basically why everyone loves his book so much that is part of the Cosmere. Because the book that I did read was not part of the Cosmere. It's like a separate standalone outside of the universe that he usually writes in. But anyways, so excited for this one, guys. Then the last and final book for the month of July that I'm hoping to read is Four Dead Queens by Astrid Schult. Hoping I pronounced her last name correctly. This is another fantasy novel, and this is going to be for my book club for the month of July. At this point, I don't really remember too much in terms of what this book is about, but I do remember something about, obviously, Four Dead Queens. It's about a girl, I guess. Her name is Carolee, and I guess she's one of like the most skilled liars and a thief. And something happens. She somehow gets embroiled with this plot, and the Four Dead Queens are found dead, etc. And it sounds really good, and I'm very excited for it. This has been one of my most anticipated reads, and I just haven't had the chance to pick it up for a very long time, so hoping to finally pick it up sometime this month. Anyways, these are all the books that I'll be picking up for the month of July / the book JUNKIE Trials, and it is a very long list. I realize now that I might have screwed myself over, but you know what? I'm gonna go along with it. It's fine. I'm gonna try to balance it with my audiobooks, and hopefully it would not be too much, like not too fantasy focused, which I mean, end of the day, like it's fine. I love fantasy, so it's not a big deal. But anyways, let me know down below which book that I'm picking up that you're most excited to read. Which one did you like, if you read them already? Which one did you not like? Let me know all that information down below. Also, let me know if you'll be joining me for the book JUNKIE Trials. If you are, which team are you on? And as always, if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe down below. Don't forget to follow me on Twitter and Instagram, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!